What's going on, everybody? The Original Mako back with our first of many Godfall videos. At the time you're watching this, the game came out yesterday, and I played it on stream for about 7.5 or so hours. Got a decent way through the story, and I think I have a good amount of tips for beginners and even somewhat intermediate type players that I think will help you out early on in the game. And it's not just 5. I couldn't come up with just 5, so we have 8 tips that we're actually going to be going through today. If you want more Godfall content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be plenty of it coming your way. Also, check the links in the description. My Twitch will be there if you want to catch me do runs live. We also have a 24-hour charity stream going on in 2 days, Saturday. So if you want to tune in for that, check the link. And then the Discord as well is down there if you want to hang out, talk, and chat with some cool people. So that being said, let's go ahead and just get in here. And I'm currently just exploring. I'm not doing any story missions or anything. I'm just exploring the world, free roam, open type of stuff. And the first thing that I'm going to go over might be the most important thing I say in this video because it just kind of screwed me. And I don't want you guys to get screwed by the same thing. So if you're killing a boss, opening a chest, whatever you're doing, if there's loot on the ground, pick it up ASAP, immediately, right away. Don't do anything else. Pick up the loot, because if you leave the area, if if it's the end of a mission and it automatically takes you back to the sanctum, you will lose that loot. It's gone. It is gone forever. You can't get it back. This needs to be changed, but for now, while this is a thing, pick up your loot immediately. I just killed the second boss on stream, and all the loot dropped, and I was picking up everything except the legendary, because I was like, we'll save it for last, see what it is, and it took me back to the home base automatically, and I lost it. So, and I tried looking, there's no, like, reclaim lost loot area, there was nothing to get that back. So, pick it up, quick, sprint, slide, do whatever you have to do to pick it up. Next tip I have for you is actually in the skill tree here. As you can see, I've got a lot of stuff going on. There's two parts of this that I want to talk about. First thing is just upgrade the corners first. I would upgrade all 4 of these corners before you start speccing into some other stuff. First and foremost, I would do the weapon techniques one, because getting used to using those is really nice, and the weapon techniques are an extremely important part of combat. So I would do that first, but make sure you get these 4 first, and then you can start speccing into some other stuff. And the second part of the skill tree that I want to say is make sure you're speccing into something that's good for your build now. Maybe you already have an idea of a build you want to have in the future, like a crit build or a breach build or something like that. But spec for what's good now, because it is crazy easy to just respec into whatever you want. You just hit this clear skills button, and then you have all your skill points back, and you just plop them wherever you want. So spec into what's good for you at that moment, and then if you need to respec, you can. Super easy. It's extremely easy. Next thing has to do with this Polarity Attack here. So as you can see, charge up your Polarity Attack by hitting enemies with your weapon. When fully charged, you swap weapons to unleash a shockwave and boost your weapon damage by 20% for 30 seconds. Half a minute. That's no joke. As you can see right below me down here, my weapons, the primary weapon is highlighted in white, and then the second weapon below it has a blue bar. When that blue bar is fully charged, that means the polarity is ready. And when it's ready, I would honestly suggest just almost every single time just swapping right away, because 20% damage for 30 seconds is no joke. That's a significant damage increase for a significant amount of time, and I would just highly recommend paying attention to that, and more often than not switching between weapons whenever the polarity is ready and you have an opportunity to do that. So I'll see if I can get it high enough and then maybe show you guys throughout this video, but I will just go ahead and move on to the next tip, which is kind of an important one to know because they never really say anything about it, but I learned it, I wouldn't say the hard way because it wasn't like game changing, but it's just an important thing that you're going to want to know. When you're at, oh look at that, we leveled up. When you're at the home base and you're maybe messing around with different Valor plates, switching them, doing whatever. If you switch Valor plates, you can copy your loadout to whatever Valor plate you want. However, when you copy your loadout, the augments that you have on your Valor plate do not carry over. So if I was to switch this Valor plate, I could go ahead and copy all these weapons into my new Valor plate. And originally, I assumed the augments would get copied as well, but they do not get copied. So make sure when you switch your Valor plate, you also reinstall, I guess, your augments into the new one every single time, because they don't carry over. Even if you hit copy loadout, it's not going to go to your new one. Very important. It can save you some potential question marks as to why you're not getting certain abilities procced or whatnot. Next thing, fifth tip, is the abilities that weapons have. So as you can see here, every weapon, doesn't matter, charm, lifestone, all of these things have a primary ability and a secondary ability. The primary ability is the same for every version of this weapon. So let's say like the Wanderer's Ambition. The primary ability for every Wanderer's Ambition will be the Inner Focus. You deal more damage, you take more damage, but the secondary abilities will change. For pretty much every single thing here, other than maybe weapons have a little bit of a different thing to them, but like the amulets, the charms, the banners, the life stones, the rings, all of this stuff, the secondary and primary abilities can almost always be more important than that number you see in the middle. I know a lot of the times with loot-based games, you know, you see a bigger number and you think, oh, I should just equip it. But think about what you need for your build personally. What's good for you? All of these things that I have right now are very important to my build. They have something that affects what I'm trying to do with each fight. If I go to my armory, I can guarantee you right now, like this has 48 spirit, this has 48 spirit, this has 56 might. It's a higher number. It's 8 higher. But I'm not going to equip it over these two because the primary and secondary abilities mean nothing to me. These don't help me at all. There is a point where you have to say, okay, this is just severely underleveled and I need to equip something else, or else I'm going to fall behind, take more damage, not do enough damage, whatever it is. But if you're comparing things that are within probably 10 to 15 of each other, I would focus mainly on the primary and secondary abilities and leave the other stuff out of it, unless you're just trying to do like an Omega Might build or Spirit or Vitality, whatever you're trying to do. Maybe then you just want to pick the highest number, but think about what you're trying to do with your build. So leave it up to that. The next thing is dodging. There's two options for dodging in this game. There's the actual dodge, which, you know, you just press space, or you press space twice if you have the skill tree unlocked to be able to slide. But there's, well, I wouldn't say this is another way to dodge, but it's another way to avoid damage, and that's with your shield. Now with the shield, you have to be kind of careful, because if an enemy fires up a red attack, you cannot block it. But normal enemies like this, you can just pull out your shield, block it, and you're not going to take any damage. If you block at the last second, you will parry and leave the enemy vulnerable and stunned and whatnot. And it's very important to practice your shield timing, especially for like on hunts or during boss fights. There are so many different things, like different attacks that you need to learn, to the point where like by the time I was at the second boss, because of how many enemies I'd fought, my shield timing was just on point. The second boss was still very difficult, but being able to pull this out and knowing how it works, because once you come out of an attack, it takes a second for it to be ready. So you have to know that, and then if you throw it, knowing as soon as it comes back how soon you can re-equip it is very important, because that determines if you're going to block an attack or dodge it by sliding. And some attacks you really can't dodge by sliding, so you have to use the shield, and parrying enemies to stun them is very important anyways. So it's never a bad idea to just keep practicing your shield timing, working on it, and getting better with the shield. Next thing is something that I always, not always, but I forget a lot of the times, especially while I'm just open world exploring here. Use the G button a lot. It puts you into spirit mode. You learn about it during the tutorial, but essentially all points of interest, anything that might be of use to you, will just be glowing and be very obvious. Like this thing was glowing orange. You saw it. Press it again, look around, see if there's anything glowing. It's a very, very good way to stock up on materials, which are important for upgrading weapons or creating new Valor plates. And the more materials you get, the better. Trust me. If you can just pump your upgrades into some stuff or just unlock a bunch of Valor plates right away, you're going to want to be doing that. So look at this. Like up there, I can see 3 things. I probably wouldn't have even had any interest of going up there if I didn't know there was stuff up there to get. So once again, use G pretty often. It works during story missions. It works while open world exploring. It works all the time. So try to get it as much as possible. You will get a significant boost of materials to use for all sorts of different things that are very important. So don't forget about it, because I do it a lot. And the last thing that I am going to talk about as a tip for early game, and probably, I mean, it's still very good for me, and I am getting ready to go to the last area, is if you can get an enemy on the ground and you have the option to use the takedown, which is F by default, try to do it as often as possible. Not only are you immune during the takedown and invulnerable, but you do so, like, watch this, ready? I knocked these 2 down. You're invulnerable, and it's a one-hit kill on a lot of things for a good chunk of time. And even once it's not a one-hit kill, it does 75 to 80% of their health almost every time. So if you can knock them down either by throwing your shield is a good way to knock down enemies. Hitting a weak spot can sometimes cause it to happen. Or there's a little bar underneath every enemy that's orange, and if it fills all the way up, that's called fully activating the breach on an enemy, and that will stun an enemy and allow you to do that as well. So there's a lot of different ways to take down, but just know that takedowns are incredible and a very good way to clear out any troublesome enemies or just deal a ton of damage to one single enemy, a boss. And as you can see right now, my weapon is glowing blue. That means polarity is still activated. So that's a good way to know when your polarity ends. So maybe you don't want to keep going with the weapon that you currently have on. So I'll wait till it runs out so you can kind of see the difference between having polarity and not having it. And as you can see, it just ran out. So there it is. Pay attention to the polarity. Pick up loot fast. Upgrade the corners first. Augments will not carry over to other weapons or to other Valor plates, and usually the abilities can be significantly better than just the sheer numbers on an item, or even the rarity of an item. The rarity doesn't always mean everything either. So make sure to know that. Make sure to not forget about the G button, and then of course the last one we talked about is that anytime you have an ability or the chance to take down an enemy, do it. Not only is it fun and satisfying, but it's just efficient. You're going to be maximizing your damage and maximizing your defense when you do that. So it's always a good idea. Those are some tips and tricks for you guys. I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out soon. Hopefully by tomorrow, maybe, or the day after, I can have the story done so I can start showing you guys some of the end game stuff, showing you some cool items, some cool weapons. But yeah, those are the most important things. Once again, the most important one, pick up your loot. Don't leave without picking up all your loot, because it'll be gone forever. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to check those links in the description. And like I said, if you want to see more Godfall content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot coming soon. I love your faces. I'll catch you guys in the next one.